Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Victoria Real Estate Show. I'm Jane Johnston, and I'm here with...
Ho, ho, ho. Yes, it's Andrew Plank here with the Vibe Real Estate Group and Royal LePage.
And...
Jen Lowe, mortgage broker with DLC Modern Mortgage Group.
Good morning. How has everybody's week been?
Oh, busy. Super busy. Yeah.
Really?
4 closings this week. A lot of running around with keys and handovers and happy times and then also sad times because, hey, you get the keys and then it turns out the sellers didn't clean as much as you'd like them to have done. And now we've got moving truck coming, and so junk removal was on their way, and cleaners are coming, and it's all a mess. But we're dealing with it.
I've got a clause for that.
So funny. What's that, Jane?
I said I have a clause for that. I'll give it to you.
I've got a clause. Well, yeah, let's talk about it. We had a clause in there for cleaning, but it definitely wasn't satisfactory.
Okay. Don't worry. I got you covered.
Mm-hmm.
All righty, everybody. Let's do our last week. This is the last show, actually, of the year, and then we're going to come back in January, probably the second week, I'm thinking. Anyway, if you like the show, hit like. Don't forget to subscribe to the program and comment on our pages. We actually really need those subscriptions because they help us with Facebook logarithms. Comment if you have a question, and don't forget, if you know somebody who needs this information, please share it. All right,
Thanks.
Andrew, go for the last 7 days while I let my dog in. Go.
Sounds good. Okay, so today is December 12th, right? And the last 7 days, we had 148 properties go live on the MLS service. 114 from the pool of available listings were sold. And 53 sellers decided it's time to decrease price because we've got to make some changes in order to get our place sold. 3 people, for whatever reason, decided that they weren't asking enough and brought their price up. 8 properties came back on market from whatever netherworld they'd gone to for a while. And 133 properties transacted at the lawyers and land title office. 60 properties expired and 9 were withdrawn. Yes, Jane.
So I just want to say the reason why these two graphs look different is because last week we had 261 closings because it was the beginning of the month. And so just proportionately, we had like double the amount of solds. So that's why the graph looks different.
So because that blue line in the left-hand graph is so large, it condensed the other lines down smaller. So they look smaller, and yet actually we last week had more new listings than this week. We had around the same number of pendings, just a little less last week than this week. And price decreases, yeah, it's all kind of on par. It's just that blue line has made it off kilter. Good point, yeah. Jane.
Thanks, Andrew.
So what are we doing here? What do you see from this? What are your thoughts?
What do I see? I see a consistent market. It's still busy. It was definitely busier in November, but these are good numbers for December, I'm thinking.
Okay. Yeah, it's for December, we're busy. Even though this is slower than it might be from November, for December, it's busy. Kevin Van Elsum says, hey, does the rate drop? He didn't say hey. Does the rate drop only really make lower valued properties become appealing?
We are going to talk about that in our predictions, Kevin, so stay tuned.
Okay. You're going to have to wait, Kevin, for an answer. Sorry, buddy.
I have an idea about that. Okay. Okay, so we have 329 net unconditional sales in December of 2023, 118 in the past, for November, we had 551 net unconditional sales. That's compared to 394 over last year. So about over like almost a 30% increase. So far in December, we have 118 unconditional sales, and that's compared to 329. So I think where we were compared to last year, we're going to be in good stead. New listings last month was 803. That was compared to 885 in November 2023, and we're already at 163 for December. And you can see seasonally, we are just going to be lower in December, less activity.
Yeah.
Overall,
You finish that. I just wanted to step in with something.
Overall active listings 2,665. That's compared to 2,132 for December last year. So we're down under 3,000 again, and that's a good sign. It's always a good list to sale ratio in December. So if you want to get your house sold, it's actually a great time because it's almost 1-to-1 usually. Go ahead.
So I was just going to say that, often we'll look at the first week when we do these, how many have sold so far this month, and we're in the first week of the month, or we're referring to this was from Monday. It's easy to say ×4, and we can probably predict what happened for the month. But December is the anomaly where things are really going to start slowing down once we get further into the month, because people really won't be doing much business.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Jen, talking about interest rates. Kevin, go ahead, Jen. Tell me what's going on.
Well, yeah, yesterday we had a big day, and Bank of Canada announced a further rate cut of 50 basis points, 0.5% to the overnight lending rate. What that means is that prime rate drops effective today by 0.5%. So those of us that have a variable rate mortgage are happy. Either our payment is being reduced, or our amortization will be reduced as well.
Right, because most people would be on a payment where they're just their payment goes up and down with the interest rate. But if they're on a fixed payment plan where they're paying the same amount, more of their payment is going towards principal.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And
okay.
Is this affecting non-variable rate mortgages, fixed rate mortgages at all?
Not at all. That's the biggest misconception. People think, like lots of inquiries on the day that rates drop, going, "Yay, my rate's going to be down, down 0.5%," and unfortunately, that's not the case. We're seeing fixed rates. Oh, go ahead, Andrew.
Oh no, finish again, and I'll speak up.
Okay. Fixed rates are they're tied to the bond market, and the bond market is affected significantly by what happens in the U.S. Treasury. So we're watching closely to see what's going to happen with the Trump government coming in, what's going to happen with these tariffs. Right now, fixed rates honestly have bumped up a little bit.
Oh, interesting.
Okay.
So what's a fixed rate right now?
Around 4.54.
Okay.
And what's variable?
Variable is 4.49.
Okay.
Okay.
Finally under fixed.
So the inverse curve or whatever. So
yes.
The one thing, because you said, okay, this won't really affect the fixed rates, but if someone's on a fixed rate mortgage and is thinking of actually buying out their mortgage or closing it out, they're going to pay the interest rate differential, right? There's going to be a penalty. Does that, based on where the variable rate goes, that is going to impact them, is it not? Like, what impact does variable rate have on that interest rate differential? And is this a good news that it's come down or not?
It doesn't affect it. What the banks do is they change their posted rates, and the posted rates affect the interest rate differential. So when you Google, mortgage rates, let's use TD Canada Trust for an example. Their posted rates are usually higher. They always are higher than what you can actually get when you negotiate your rates.
Okay.
But when we're determining what that interest rate differential penalty will be, it takes the discount that you got off of that posted rate.
Okay. And that's always based on fixed posted rate, though it has not.
Yes.
The two are not interrelated at all. Okay.
No.
Okay.
So the way I also look at it is you have your fixed rate and then you have your variable rate. And previously variable was higher because the bank was trying also to sell more fixed rate mortgages because they were predicting the variable rate was going to go down.
Yeah. Yeah. It's also because of inflation, right? The Bank of Canada is also having to balance out inflation, and that's why we've seen a big reduction to the interest rates on the variable rate side.
Okay. Would
So
now
for
be
the past few years, people with variable rate have been, to put it mildly, sucking gas, and
Yeah.
because they were paying a lot more money than the fixed rate people. Now there's more incentive to go variable because the anticipation is the rate's going to go down over the next while.
Yeah. And the current prediction going into 2025, so the Bank of Canada meets again January, March, and April are the next 3 meetings. And the current prediction is that rates will come down an additional 25 basis points each meeting.
Wow.
Okay. Wow.
Ugh.
So that's going to be pretty huge for those of us on variable rates and people deciding to go variable rates. Should we address Kevin's question now as we're talking about the rate drop?
Well, I was going to do predictions, but okay, we can address it now. So my thought is for anybody with who's buying, I know the value of his property. So I think what it's going to do, Kevin, what happens is the market goes from the bottom up. So you're going to have more action happening at the bottom, then people trade up. And then you also have more action happening from the core out, which is what we say all the time. And so I think it's going to be a really hot market in the spring. I also think, this is my prediction, that there's going to be more inventory. So what's happened is a reason why the market has done well over this past little while, even though interest rates have gone down considerably this year. Is it 5 times this year so far? Interest rate drops?
Since June, yes. Yep, since June, it's come down 1.75%.
Yeah. And
Wow.
only now are we really seeing a lot of activity. So my thought is the increase in inventory has kind of staved off that because buyers are having a bit of choice. So I think you will see more activity at the higher end coming up next year. That's what
So
I think. Yes.
Kevin, the rate drop really mostly appeals to people who are financing as opposed to those who have cash, right? People who have cash can buy in any market. And people finance all different price points of property. And of course, a higher price point is going to actually be even more impacted by these interest rates. I mean, everyone is fighting to keep every dollar they have with cost of living and food and so forth. But I don't think that this rate drop is really just appealing for lower valued properties. And it definitely makes all properties more appealing. The meat and potatoes of the market is going to definitely be benefiting from these lower interest rates. It's certainly, I don't see that this is only going to be on lower valued properties.
I think also too, like when you have a higher end property, so we're talking Bear Mountain here. When you have a higher end property, you're going to have more people actually taking advantage. This is what happened during COVID because it was basically free money. There were more people borrowing money at that time. So they accumulated debt. Would you say that?
Well, the people who use money as a tool and understand the value of strategic lending, again, lower interest rates allows them to leverage and buy more and move up in the real estate market. So it's also, yes, going to affect the higher end properties as well. Those sophisticated buyers who don't want to use cash. Jen,
what do you think?
You could say it also will affect the lower valued properties in the sense of people just they're now able to get into the market, because the qualifying interest rate, qualifying payment has gone down, so they can afford more.
Yeah.
So I think it will. I think it will have a run-on effect starting at the lower end, what I was saying, and moving up the market. I think we're going to see a big year next year.
Mhm.
I guess another way to look at this, I'm still formulating this thought here, but as you've got people who could afford this at a certain interest rate, with the interest rates lower, now they can afford a little bit more money. And so they can afford a more expensive home for the same amount of mortgage payment now. So they may choose to move up, or they may choose to buy now for the same price and be paying less. With the lower valued properties, those are being bought by people who maybe they actually even couldn't, here's the threshold for any kind of starter home, and people who can't even afford that are here and just waiting for those interest rates to drop to a point where their affordability matches. And then that's bringing new people into the marketplace, and that will put more pressure in the lower side, but it's going to affect the whole marketplace.
So what you're saying is it's making lower valued properties more affordable.
Yes.
More accessible, more affordable. Yeah.
Yeah, and on the upper end, it's so the mistake that people will make listing on the listing side is asking too much money, because they're going to think their house is worth more money, but you still want to price it where you think you you still want to price it where
I
you
love
think
it.
the activity is going to happen. These are like the most awesome people ever.
Ah, great
Hey,
question.
I will say though, I mean, on the part of somebody in their family, there was an agent who listed a price, who priced a home. Sorry, I'm a little emotional actually. They priced their home high, and we got like from list price to when they sold, we got almost $200,000 off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Initial list price. So they kept going down because they were priced too high. So
Yeah.
even when the market is like doing well, if you price too high, you're pricing yourself out of that market.
I think
You're
if
above.
you're looking at a shelf of goods and there's a bunch of cans on the shelf and they're all the same can, but one is priced twice the price of the others, nobody's going to be picking that can and taking it home. And that can's going to sit on that shelf and it's going to get dusty. And every once in a while, it's going to get knocked down off the shelf. It's going to get dented. It's going to get put back up. It's going to get dustier and dustier. And at some point, somebody's going to realize it was mispriced and bring it back to the price of all the other cans, but nobody's going to pay that price.
Yeah.
It has to go even lower. And that's what happens when people overprice.
Yeah.
I just made that analogy up.
Okay.
Is it good? Yeah.
Let's get back to the show. Okay, this is what happened in overall for BC. Sales volume was up to 5,841, up 25.7% from November of 2023. So we had a good year in BC, a good month in November for across BC. The average MLS price was up 1.7%. So this is interesting. So the number of properties sold, but the price didn't really increase. Only 1.2% year over year, from 979 to 979 from 963. And then the total sales dollar volume was $5.7 billion, up 27.8% over the same time in 2023. So there you go. Unit sales were down 12% in the 10-year average. So overall, our market is not as robust as it was normally over the 10-year average has to do with COVID too, right? That was 4 years. So
yeah, I mean, when you're looking at a year on average and saying, things are up like 1.7% from a year ago, we also we had sort of a soft market overall, and it's been up and down a little bit. So where it's gone in the last couple of months versus where it's gone on the year average, I think is another thing to look at. The quote here from Brent, chief economist for the BC Real Estate Association, he ends with, "The surge in activity this fall sets up 2025 for a much stronger start than we've seen in the last 2 years. And I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah, I agree too. We're in a
Me
great
too.
place for both buyers and sellers. I think it'll lead to a more balanced market. What do you think? Like even.
I think we're going to see a spike in buyer sales, buyer activity, and it really depends how deep the pool of buyers is. If it's a nice deep pool of sustained people coming into the market, partly due to difference in consumer sentiment and more affordability with lower interest rates, we're going to see that continuing on with a strong spring. If it's not a very deep pool, then that could peter out. But I think we're going to be busy.
I feel like a lot of buyers have been waiting over the past year and a half, and they're just starting to come out of the woodwork. What do you think, Jen?
Most definitely. Yep. Yep. Doing lots of pre-approvals now. Lots of people are coming back wanting to revisit their pre-approval, and just more certainty on where the market's going.
Yeah. I always think of a healthy market as one where someone who wants to both buy and sell at the same time can actually do that in a reasonable way. They're not, properties aren't selling so quickly that they're unable to go and buy something, and they're afraid of selling and not being able to buy. But there's also they're not also afraid of buying and then not being able to sell because the market's so slow. So a nice balanced market is a really great place for people to for more people to feel comfortable coming into the market. Why are you laughing?
Because that's what that's what I was trying to say. So
Okay.
so sometimes, like in a market where it's a seller's market, there isn't enough choice for sellers to find another property. So I'm just saying that it's going to be balanced in terms of list to sale ratio, because I think we're going to see more inventory coming up because there's more optimism in terms of sellers getting property. And then we're going to also see buyers coming into the market who perhaps haven't been able to come in previously.
Now, I don't know. People are talking about this. We get into politics every once in a while. But with the inauguration coming up and the changeover in, who holds the reins of the United States coming up in January, talk of 25% tariffs. This kind of stuff can really throw a wrench in the works of our economy. So that's the question mark that I have about making any predictions into the spring, because there's a lot going on globally and with our neighbors to the south, as there always is. But it feels like that could definitely move the needle.
Are you hearing any rumbles, Jen, from your people? This is making my head itch, by the way.
Yeah, there was a bit of discussion with our chief economist yesterday with the Bank of Canada rate cut, and definitely some concern there that could affect our economy, and what is our government going to do to try and boost our economy. So usually what that will mean is interest rates will come down.
Yeah. So would you think, so if the election had gone differently and there hadn't been the threat of the tariffs and so forth, do you think the Bank of Canada still would have done a 0.5% drop? Because that seemed a little bit more than I think.
Yes, based on our labor market data and what's happening. So they were so this past Friday, our labor market data was released, and it was not good. So that had them do a 0.5% rate cut. Prior to that, the prediction was 0.25 percentage point.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So, yeah, and that's based in Canada.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else you want to add?
Just, wish everybody a happy holidays and make it through the season, because it's positive and sometimes a challenging time for people. And yeah, just wishing everybody well.
Okay, so I'm thinking we're going to come back on the 9th of January, which is the second Thursday, if that works for everybody.
Fine with me.
Works
Okay.
for me.
So we can have a little bit of a rest. Okay, so let me just get here. I've just changed all the stuff around. We are here on Thursdays at 9:30. If you want to go back and review any of our former shows, you can go to Andrew's or my YouTube channel. We're going to get Jen set up in the new year. Yippee-ki-yay. And in the meantime, Andrew, how do people reach you?
Die Hard is a Christmas movie, by the way.
No, it's not.
Jane even just said yippee-ki-yay, so I'm just putting it out there. It is a Christmas movie. And if anybody doesn't understand the reference, then that's too bad. You can reach me at 250-360-6106, email info@andrewplank.com, website andrewplank.com, as well as realvibe.ca. We are the Vibe Collective is what we've rebranded to, actually. And Instagram, I'm on Plank Andrew if you want to reach me there.
You will be assimilated. Jen.
I am at 250-217-4925. I'm at Modern Mortgage Group. Email is jen@jenlo.ca and website is jenlo.ca.
Okay. And I'm Jane Johnston. I'm with the Briar Hill Group at Remax Camosun. My number is 250-744-0775. You can reach me at briarhillgroup@gmail.com, and our website is briarhillgroup.com. You can watch these shows and more at victoriarealestateshow.com and follow me on Instagram at realtyteacher_Remax_Victoria or Briar Hill Group. Alrighty, you guys. Just want to say have a happy holiday. We'll be back on Thursday, January 9th at 9:30, and we'll see you there. Happy holidays and Happy New Year.
Thanks to everybody for coming and joining us and sharing your time. And thanks to you both. It's always great. And Happy New Year to happy season and New Year and all the stuff. We'll see you on the 9th.
Okay, see you later.
Happy holidays.
Bye-bye.
Bye.